opinion. So I see there's no precedent for me being funny. So I say a really dry joke and no one laughs and they think I'm being serious or think I'm being a jerk. But I, in my head, am just like, it's a Jason Bateman zinger.
Sure.
But my husband could say the same thing and people belly laugh. But it's because there's precedent. There's precedent for him being funny. So yeah, you just have to create precedent. And you start that by stop saying,
I'm not
funny.
I will remember what you're saying.
And your girlfriend.
It seems Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's effort to silence the internet is backfiring spectacularly. More and more content creators are fighting back, filing motions to dismiss the subpoenas against them. This controversy has even caught the attention of British actor and comedian Omid Djalili, known for his roles in major films like Gladiator, Pirates of the Caribbean, At World's End, and many others, as well as his voice work in popular video games. Omid spoke out strongly, saying, "It's time to speak up. Usually I stay quiet in such cases except for a joke here and there. But the situation involving Baldoni and Lively has taken a dark turn. This is far from the usual celebrity gossip. It affects all of us and is more serious than what the media lets on." He recalled how Blake Lively promoted a domestic violence film last August, while simultaneously pushing her alcohol brands, a move that many saw as tone-deaf, considering the well-known link between alcohol and domestic violence. Instead of apologizing, Blake labeled the criticism an untraceable smear campaign, trying to deflect from the disastrous marketing led by Ryan Reynolds' company. Then Blake accused her co-star and director Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment in a widely publicized New York Times article, but Baldoni's lawyer provided evidence proving no such harassment occurred. Meanwhile, Blake's crisis manager was removed from the case. Amid these allegations, now Blake and Ryan are targeting anyone who criticized them online, even small content creators with just a few dozen followers. They're demanding personal information from these creators, attempting to silence voices commenting on a public case. This is a serious threat to free speech. Fortunately, many creators are fighting back. Mainstream media, previously silent, now warn that demanding private data from hobby bloggers risks violating the First Amendment, calling it an attack on free speech. At the heart of this issue is privacy. Social media platforms handing over personal information to powerful celebrities to intimidate critics is deeply troubling. Blake and Ryan's legal strategy risks blowing up in their faces. Omid's outspoken comments have gained thousands of likes and hundreds of thousands of views on Twitter, drawing attention to the misuse of media and legal power. He highlighted how mainstream outlets push a false narrative to protect these celebrities while punishing anyone who challenges.
She sort of like pretends to play with her. So like in the beginning, that our oldest is like loving on her and she's like very maternal, and then our middle daughter is just like just keeps away from her.
Unjust attack on their constitutional rights. One creator, Kenzie McKenzie, who had just one YouTube subscriber, when subpoenaed, emphasized that the demands violate freedom of speech. She noted that no specific content has been identified as defamatory by Blake's team, yet personal data is being demanded without proper legal basis. The core of their defense is the First Amendment, which protects anonymous speech on matters of public concern. These creators have not engaged in defamation or unlawful behavior. Instead, they discuss publicly available information about a high-profile lawsuit. This legal assault appears more like an attempt to intimidate critics than to seek real evidence. Content creators have the right to question and comment on public cases without fear of retaliation. Blake's team has failed to prove any smear campaign with solid evidence. Calling someone a bully or criticizing their actions is not defamation. This case raises important questions about power, privacy, and free expression. No one should fear speaking truth to power, especially when that power tries to silence them through the courts. The battle continues, and those standing up for free speech deserve support. This is a fight that goes beyond celebrities. It's about protecting everyone's right to voice opinions without fear. And Reynolds and Blake Lively's attempts to silence their critics have sparked a backlash that is only growing louder. Content creators, small and large, are refusing to be intimidated by the subpoenas and are fighting back in court. This fight has now become a symbol of free speech versus powerful celebrities trying to control the narrative. The mainstream media, which was mostly silent at first, is beginning to speak out, with some outlets warning that demanding personal information from hobby bloggers and independent creators risks violating constitutional rights, especially the First Amendment. This marks a shift in the public conversation and shines a light on the dangers of using legal power to silence dissent. Privacy concerns are at the forefront. Social media platforms handing over sensitive user data to celebrities and their legal teams is raising alarms. Many see this as an abuse of power that threatens the privacy and safety of ordinary users. The implications for free speech and online privacy are huge and could set dangerous precedents if left unchecked. Omid Djalili has used his platform to call out this injustice, describing it as a dark turn from normal celebrity gossip to a serious threat that affects everyone. His statement has been widely shared, liked, and discussed, showing there's growing support for those speaking out against this legal bullying. Several content creators working together have pooled their legal resources. Some have backgrounds in law, helping each other file motions to quash the subpoenas. This cooperation highlights the community's determination to defend their rights and push back against what many see as an overreach. Kenzie McKenzie, a small creator with only one subscriber when subpoenaed, has made a strong argument based on freedom of speech, pointing out that no specific defamatory content has been identified and that the subpoenas lack proper legal foundation. She emphasizes that commenting on publicly available information about a legal case is protected speech. The creators stress that anonymous speech on matters of public interest is a cornerstone of democracy and must be protected. The attempt to unmask critics simply for discussing a public lawsuit is viewed as retaliation aimed at chilling free expression. This case has become a test of the limits of legal power in silencing dissenting voices. Blake Lively's legal team has not provided convincing evidence to support claims of a smear campaign. Without such proof, the subpoenas appear to be fishing expeditions designed more to intimidate than to gather facts. Calling someone a bully or expressing critical opinions is not defamation and should not be punished. This ongoing controversy raises urgent questions about the balance between protecting reputations and upholding free speech. It reminds us that no one should be afraid to speak truth to power, especially when the powerful use the courts to silence critics. As this battle unfolds, the courage of those standing up for free speech inspires many. It is a reminder that defending the right to voice opinions without fear is vital for a healthy democracy. The outcome will have far-reaching effects beyond the entertainment world, touching on the rights of all who speak out. Online situations surrounding Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds continues to escalate as more independent creators step forward to challenge what they see as an unjust use of legal power. Their motions to quash the subpoenas reveal a pattern: a lack of specific allegations, vague legal claims, and a sweeping attempt to uncover the identities of critics who merely shared public information or expressed opinions about a high-profile legal dispute. One of the most compelling arguments made by the creators is that none of them were provided with clear examples of how their content was defamatory or unlawful. Despite this, Blake Lively's legal team demanded sensitive information, including names, IP addresses, and even financial details. This overreach has led many to question whether the subpoenas are truly about justice or simply an attempt to suppress dissent. Many creators involved in the case have emphasized that their commentary was based entirely on public records, news reports, and statements already made by the parties themselves. They argue that responding to or analyzing this information falls under fair use and is constitutionally protected as free speech. One of the standout moments in this unfolding saga comes from the creator known as Existing to
I had no idea, but in 2010, he drew Lady Deadpool, and at the same time, I was cast in the Green Lantern with my now husband, who is not my husband then. The timeline, I know, it gets a little like you need a conspiracy yarn to track it, but basically, there was no association with Ryan. Ryan had no association with
The
Deadpool.
implications of this case stretch far beyond YouTube or social media. If celebrities are allowed to demand the identities of critics without presenting real evidence, it sets a precedent that anyone who speaks out against the powerful can be hunted down and silenced through legal threats. This threatens not just the internet but the foundation of free speech in a democratic society. Another major concern voiced by creators is the power imbalance. Blake Lively is a global celebrity with millions of followers, a massive legal team, and access to mainstream media platforms. The creators targeted by her legal action include individuals with barely any followers or monetization, yet they are being treated as if they pose a serious threat. This imbalance raises ethical questions about who has the right to control narratives and whether wealth and fame should allow someone to crush opposition through lawsuits. The creators argue that Lively's actions appear retaliatory, not corrective. Rather than addressing public criticism through honest dialogue or even silence, she has chosen a legal path that seeks to expose and potentially intimidate critics and observers. This approach has backfired by drawing more attention to her tactics and undermining her credibility as a public figure. Legal experts watching the case have pointed to previous court rulings that strongly favor protecting anonymous speech, especially when that speech involves commentary on public controversies. The precedent-setting cases like New York Times, versus Sullivan reinforces the idea that public figures must prove actual malice when claiming defamation and that the bar for unmasking anonymous speakers is high. If courts begin allowing subpoenas without these standards being met, it will create a chilling effect for anyone who dares speak up against those in power. As more motions are filed and more voices join the conversation, the case is turning into a referendum on the rights of online creators. The outcome could redefine how public discourse is handled in the digital age and whether platforms like YouTube and social media will remain spaces for open conversation or become battlegrounds controlled by the powerful. The creators involved are not asking for special treatment. They are simply defending their right to participate in public dialogue without fear of being dragged into court. Their resistance is not just about this case. It is about protecting the principle that in a free society everyone should be able to question, criticize, and discuss matters of public concern regardless of who is involved or how famous they may be. The legal battle between Blake Lively and a growing group of independent content creators intensifies. The broader implications are becoming impossible to ignore. What began as a dispute involving public criticism has evolved into a case that may define the limits of speech privacy and platform accountability in the digital age. At the center of this conflict is a simple yet profound question: can a celebrity use the legal system to uncover the identities of critics without clear evidence of wrongdoing, or does the First Amendment protect these individuals from invasive discovery when all they have done is comment on publicly available information and news coverage? The creators at the heart of this fight argue that the answer must be rooted in constitutional rights. Their statements emphasize that none of the subpoenas identify specific statements, videos, or claims that are defamatory or unlawful. Yet they are being asked to hand over highly sensitive personal information, including IP histories, financial records, and full legal names. This overreach has alarmed not just those directly involved but legal observers and digital rights advocates as well. The potential consequences extend far beyond this particular case. If the court allows such subpoenas to go forward without requiring a concrete evidentiary basis, it could set a precedent where anyone speaking on a controversial public issue could be unmasked and intimidated regardless of whether they broke any laws or committed any harm. Some creators have shared how this process has already affected their lives even before any official ruling is made. The emotional and financial stress of being targeted in a federal subpoena for simply expressing an opinion has caused anxiety, isolation, and fear for many smaller channels and creators who do not have the resources to fight such legal battles on their own. This is not just about money. It is about the right to exist in public discourse without fearing retaliation from those in positions of extreme power. These subpoenas have also reignited the debate over how social media platforms handle user data and what responsibility they have to protect user identities. Some platforms complied with the legal request without giving creators time to respond, while others delayed their compliance to allow time for motions to quash. This inconsistency raises critical questions about trust, transparency, and whether online platforms are equipped to protect users in politically or legally sensitive matters. The public response has also begun to shift as more people become aware of the scope of these subpoenas. Many are expressing outrage over the idea that people with tiny audiences who simply shared public news or voiced opinions could be dragged into legal proceedings by wealthy celebrities. It highlights a deeply uncomfortable truth that power dynamics are being exploited and that platforms built on free expression may now be vulnerable to censorship. Through litigation, supporters of the creators, including Omid Djalili, have helped bring visibility to the issue by framing it not as a petty celebrity feud but as a threat to fundamental democratic values. His statement and its widespread sharing reflect the growing awareness that something far more significant is at stake. The erosion of privacy and speech rights under legal pressure could affect everyone who participates in online discussion, whether about politics, entertainment, or culture. One particularly powerful aspect of the motions filed by creators like Existing to Thrive and Mackenzie is their reliance on established legal precedent to demonstrate that the subpoenas lack proper foundation. They cite Supreme Court rulings that underscore the need for clear evidence of actual malice before a public figure can force the disclosure of an anonymous speaker's identity. The creators assert that since no such evidence has been provided, any attempt to unmask them constitutes retaliation, pure and simple. And this retaliation, they argue, is not just a personal vendetta. It is a strategic attempt to chill broader criticism and regain control over the narrative by making examples of small creators in the hopes that others will remain silent. This chilling effect is perhaps the most dangerous part of the entire situation when people begin to self-censor out of fear that voicing an opinion could result in legal threats. It weakens the foundation of public discourse and creates an atmosphere where only the powerful feel safe to speak. As more people begin to understand the stakes and as more creators speak out, there is growing momentum behind the idea that this case must be watched not only for its outcome but for the precedent it could set. The battle may be centered around one celebrity couple and their critics, but the consequences could reshape how freedom of expression functions in the digital world for years to come. As the fight reaches its most critical phase, the creators standing against Blake Lively's sweeping subpoenas are no longer just defending themselves, they are defending a principle that resonates across the entire internet: the right to speak, the right to question, and the right to remain anonymous when participating in public discourse. What began as a reaction to controversial marketing and an explosive New York Times article has now evolved into a full-scale test of how far legal power can stretch before it breaks the public trust. With each new motion to quash and each new creator stepping forward, the message is becoming clearer. This is not about harassment, this is not about defamation. This is about control over the narrative, control over who gets to speak and who gets silenced. The creators argue that Lively and her team are weaponizing the courts to create fear, a fear that if you criticize someone with enough money, influence, or legal muscle, you could be pulled into court even if your content was lawful and fair. What makes this even more concerning is that several of the creators subpoenaed have almost no reach. One had a single subscriber at the time of the subpoena. Others had a few dozen followers, yet the legal force used against them was the same, as if they had launched a coordinated misinformation campaign. The disproportionate response is not only alarming but revealing. It suggests that the subpoenas were never about genuine harm, but about sending a message to anyone watching: stay silent or pay the price. In their filings, the creators point out that Blake Lively has offered no clear examples of what content she found defamatory, nor has she proven the existence of a coordinated smear campaign. Without this, the legal basis for demanding private data collapses, but the fear it creates lingers. One of the most striking arguments raised is that reacting to a celebrity's public statement or reposting publicly available information is not and should never be considered defamation. Public figures, by legal definition, must meet a higher standard to prove harm, and that standard is therefore a reason to ensure open debate, to protect dissent, to keep power in check. Yet what we are seeing here is an attempt to ignore that standard entirely, and to punish people not for lies but for attention, for commentary, for simply being part of a conversation. The chilling effect this creates is already visible. Some creators have gone silent, others have deleted videos or entire channels out of fear. The ripple effects go beyond the courtroom, they reach into the heart of what makes the internet a space for dialogue and exchange. When creators are afraid to speak, when viewers are afraid to engage, when platforms feel pressure to surrender user data, without transparency, the integrity of our digital public square is compromised. And yet, despite the fear, despite the imbalance of power, there is hope in the form of unity, in the form of voices that refuse to be silenced. Creators, legal advocates, and supporters across the world are drawing a line in the sand. They are making it known that the internet does not belong to the powerful alone, that criticism, even sharp, even uncomfortable, is not a crime. It is a sign of a healthy, functioning democracy. The road ahead remains uncertain. The courts will ultimately decide whether these subpoenas stand or fall, but what is already clear is that something vital is being tested, and the outcome will not just affect a handful of creators or one celebrity dispute. It will define whether speaking out still holds power in an age of influence and intimidation. This is a turning point, and those watching from the sidelines may soon realize that what happens next could just as easily happen to them. The defense of free speech, the protection of privacy, and the courage to challenge power are no longer abstract principles. They are being lived in real time by real people facing real consequences, and their stand may be the reason we all continue to have a voice. In the end, what this case has revealed is not just a legal battle between a celebrity and a handful of online creators, but a much deeper struggle over who controls the conversation in the digital age. It has exposed how quickly influence and wealth can be weaponized to suppress criticism, how legal tools meant to protect can be twisted into instruments of fear, and how the simple act of asking questions or sharing opinions can be met with the full weight of a legal threat when those opinions challenge the powerful. Yet, what has also emerged is a powerful counterforce, a coalition of voices willing to resist creators, willing to stand their ground, legal minds willing to assist, and audiences willing to pay attention, not because they seek drama or scandal, but because they understand what is at stake: the future of free speech on platforms that millions rely on every day. The creators at the heart of this fight never asked To be heroes, they never claim to be perfect, but their willingness to speak up, even when faced with intimidation, reminds us that speech is not a privilege for the famous. It is a right for everyone, and when that right is threatened, defending it becomes not only necessary, but urgent. The legal system will decide the technical outcome of these subpoenas, but the cultural verdict has already begun to take shape. People are watching. People are asking why a single subscriber channel is being subpoenaed, why opinions rooted in public information are being treated as dangerous, and why a celebrity couple with access to the most powerful media tools feels the need to demand silence from those without a platform. The uncomfortable truth is that this case has less to do with protecting reputations and more to do with setting an example, that criticism will be punished, that dissent will be hunted, that silence is the safest option. But that truth is exactly what the creators are refusing to accept. By standing together, by documenting everything, by challenging every baseless demand, they are proving that even the smallest voice matters, and that justice should not be dictated by fame. As we watch this situation unfold, it becomes clear that the outcome will echo beyond any courtroom. It will influence how platforms respond to future cases, how courts interpret the balance between reputation and expression, and how each of us feels when we sit down to post a comment, share a video, or speak our mind. The conclusion is not just about Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds or anyone motion to quash. It is about what kind of internet we are willing to defend, one ruled by fear or one guided by fairness. It is about whether truth is shaped by access or discovered through open, honest public dialogue. And it is about the courage to stand up, not because it is easy, but because it is right. This battle may have started quietly, but its impact is already thundering across timelines, headlines, and courtrooms, and in the end, whether the creators win or lose legally, they have already lit a spark that cannot be ignored. Free speech survives not when it is convenient, but when it is challenged and still refuses to back down. This video covers legal allegations in a news context. All claims are from official filings and no guilt is implied until proven in court. Please keep all discussions respectful. Allegations are not facts until proven in court.